Hello everybody, this is vlog number 8. Um, I just did something that you're not going to see or hear because it was in the editing, or it'll be edited out. I'm going to do it again. Here's something like a trick that I do for these vlogs because I either have 1 or 2 cameras going, or I might also be doing a screen capture, and I've got to put all this stuff together at the end of the video, and more importantly lock in all the audio. So I do something at the beginning right before I start, because I might hit record sometimes 10 minutes before I even start doing what I'm doing right now. And and I have to record on each one of these devices at separate times. Some of them I don't want to start until right when I'm ready to record, because they're resource heavy. Like the digital SLR camera is resource heavy. It records a much larger file, so I run out of time quicker. So what I do when I'm ready, when I think I'm about to start actually talking about something mildly important, I do a snap like that. And maybe that's not the most professional way to do it, but what that does is it gives me, on all the devices, each one of them is going to have an audio track. And though I've been choosing to use the little camcorder's audio instead of my professional equipment, it tends to get the best sound somehow. But what that allows me to do is, on each one of the tracks, I will see this big peak right when I snap, and that allows me to line them up perfectly and quickly, because otherwise it's a little bit tougher. I mean, if you're used to this, you can do that without the snap pretty quickly, depending on some factors. But it's just a trick. I thought it was worth mentioning. Another thing we're going to mess with, which is potentially going to be embarrassing. I brought it up before, I think, in the first blog. The fact that I've got extremely tired eyes from working late nights, working night in general. Barely getting. I don't get out in the sun very often, and I'm just usually tired, and my eyes reflect that. And I don't necessarily always want to reflect that to the rest of the world. So, or especially a client, or potential client or something like that. And I've talked about how I cover those things up a little bit. Now, I am no makeup expert, so I would take tons of advice, or I would welcome it if anybody watching these videos has any advice on that. And because I need a simple solution, and what I use right now, I found it's tough. I don't know. I was dorking around in the makeup aisle of Meyer, which, for those of you not in my area of the world or country, that's kind of like a Walmart. In fact, I think they did Walmart well before Walmart did, but that's, who knows? We can battle that one out. Either way, it's late at night. It's 3 in the morning or so, and I'm standing here looking at makeup and feeling awkward. Because staff walking by asking me if I need any help, and of course I do, but I don't want to ask for it. I don't know. Maybe other people are more confident with themselves. But I found this thing here, made by Maybelline, and what I tend to do, and this is probably totally from anybody who knows anything about makeup, the complete wrong way to do it, but I actually will just dab just a little bit underneath my eye. And since I don't have a big makeup kit like most women would, or professionals at that matter. I kind of just rub it in just a little bit. I make sure that it's smooth enough that you can't tell that I'm wearing makeup, because that would be come up with a different result than having tired eyes. I'd rather well, I don't know if I'd rather look like a junkie than like I'm trying to wear makeup, but I might put on a little more than that sometimes, but it's subtle, and I try to kind of just blend it in, which I'm sure there's nice little cute pads that, you know, you can powder out or smooth out, and I might even, like, it doesn't look like I've really got a lot, so I'll put a little more on there and smooth that out. But it doesn't hide it completely, but it tones it down and makes the contrast between under my eyes and my cheekbone just that tiny notch less, which takes away some distraction. I also tend to I don't know if you call it squint, but you can see me do it right here. I tend to talk like this, which I think is or I do this with my eyes, which is a more direct way of talking, and you can get a little more, you either intimidate the hell out of the person, or at least you get their attention, or you feel like that you are paying attention to them. But I also find that helps. It kind of bunches up the circles I've already got, which or the bags, I would say, I hate to say it, from age and having habits like smoking and things. But it bunches up my eyes, and it also gives a more direct look anyways. So rather than walking around talking like this all the time, looking like a junkie, it's really important how you do this. And I know that's may seem kind of cheesy and embarrassing, but sometimes you actually do have to look in the mirror and talk to it, and figure out what your public face is. Had I not been in music and things like that, I may not have this knowledge as much, or experience, or the want to figure that out. But when you're on stage every other weekend, or every weekend, sometimes 3 times a week, and, I mean, even me as a drummer, sometimes I'm not even really seen. Sometimes I'm very obvious, but you start wondering about that. You see people taking videos with their cameras, and you realize, like, the looks you make when you're doing things, when you're drumming, things like that, and even now. And it's really important how you come off to people. So now this is a video. I have the luxury of re-watching this, editing it, and maybe even scrapping it and re-recording it. For all you know, I've actually done this 5 different times and changed my look. You know, like, so that's the beauty of being a recording and having the ability to edit it. But when going into a conference call or something like that, these things are important. And now if you're just talking to your colleagues, your team members, or things like that, maybe it's not as important. Now if you're the boss, that's probably important. When you're leading a team, it's important that you look like you're awake and on point. But it's not, and it's not as important if you're just, shooting the shit with your colleagues. But when I have to go in and meet with a potential new client, or a client we've just kind of hooked and maybe not sold 100% yet, I have to be on my best behavior that way. I have to make sure that I've got You know, I don't need to look amazing. People aren't, you know, these are video chats. I don't need to come in a suit and tie unless that's, you know, unless somebody tells me ahead of time. But knowing these things about, you know, your own face, your own expressions and things like that help totally. You also need to worry about your environment. And I know that actually my basement, my office right now is very messy. I've been moving it around almost in an OCD capacity, which I well, that's another story. But I don't want people to see that, so I've set the digital SLR camera to be up at a way that you barely see what's behind me. You see that there is something behind me, although I may have taken the protein shake out if I was doing a video conference, but I leave the focus on me, and it's not as easy to do when you're using just a webcam, but and folks like me, which I say folks like me, and I feel weird saying that term, but people like me have made decisions with their body that some other professionals haven't. We have to be even more careful and more on guard. The fact that I have piercings and tattoos. The piercings are okay. If I wanted to, I could take them out. And none would be the wiser. I've already taken out a ridiculous amount. You know, forget I was a 90s kid. I think I have 16 holes in my ears. Something ridiculous like that. I mean, between the two, not in each. And not only one, but 4 holes above my eyebrow. So I could look drastically different right now. I choose to stay with what I've got. Why, I don't know. I feel it's mild enough that I'm not going to scare anybody away, but I also don't want to not be myself, which some might argue modifying yourself is not yourself, but who knows. I feel comfortable the way I am. So that's important, but it's also important to know that you may make other people uncomfortable. Same thing with the lighting right now in my hat color. You can't see that I'm wearing a hat except for the fact that my head disappears. But I might make that decision too. Depending on how I've styled my hair, whether I've shaved recently. I mean, that's my normal thing. I normally just shave my head, sometimes down to the scalp. And sometimes down to the scalp is not the impression that we want to give off. So in that case, I will wear the hat, and I'll pick one that matches or something, and I'll wear it. Yeah, I'll try to fix it so that it's not all stupid, you know, gangster, you know, off to the side, or, you know, emo in my face or whatever, but, you know, acceptable. But bottom line, these are things that you don't need to freak out about. Just get comfortable with, and this is part of the reason why I didn't want to do vlogs. I don't want people looking at me. I'm a very self-conscious person. I was picked on a lot as a kid due to needing braces and things like that, and having what has been called the quant smile, which is, you know, most people in my family, my brother, my sister, and other relatives, we all have very large smiles, we'll say it that way. And you know, so I kind of shy away from being in the camera. So this is even a hurdle for me. So you can also imagine I hate being in the video conference situation. So this makes me a little more comfortable. Setting up a couple lights, you know, turn on your camera, get it at an angle that you like, that you're comfortable with, that you're comfortable with seeing when, you know, especially depending on what you're using. It may be Google Hangouts. Your face will come up on the screen a lot. some of the programs out there don't do that. They don't show who's talking, but when your face comes up and you see yourself talking, sometimes it can really screw you up. And so I really went on a tangent there. That was supposed to be a 2-second talk. The things that I wanted to talk about in this video, I haven't even gotten to, and I wonder if I will. I'm getting some warnings from my camera that the temperature of my lens is heating up, and at first I mentioned that in another vlog, and I was wondering why that was. It was getting irritating because it was happening very fast or very soon, but then I realized I have 2 LCD monitors. It's sandwiched, which if we take the other camera we can see it's kind of sandwiched between 2 LCD monitors there, and I could just say monitors, but the fact that they're LCD actually matters. They produce way more heat and energy than the LEDs, which my other monitors, some of these over here, these are all LED monitors, and they don't even, I mean, I would almost go to say is colder. I mean, they're not even hot. So I may want to move this camera because it's getting heat from the sides of here, especially the TV. The TV is producing, even the screen itself is producing a lot of heat, and that's what's getting me this little temperature warning that you can see. You may have noticed as I was throwing the camera around here, this is called Parenting 2.0. No, I'm not spying on my children, but this helps me be a stay-at-home dad, as well as keep an eye on my kids, which they're playing in their rooms right now, and I would never put a camera in their room. But it lets me take a look at the 2 living rooms in my house upstairs and see if they're getting into trouble. I can hear them upstairs, and if I can see them then in these areas, then I can tell whether I need to go upstairs or if they're just dorking around. So no, I don't plan on putting cameras around my whole house, but there is hope for those of us who are stay-at-home parents and have to work, say, in the basement or in an office somewhere else in the house. That's one way to do it. That's actually, I got some cameras on clearance. They're these wireless cameras that just go to this little transmitter. All in all, I spent about $100 on 2 cameras and a transmitter. The TV I just had somewhere sitting in the garage. It plugs into any TV. In fact, you could plug it into, well, I wouldn't say any monitor, but some of my monitors are actually TVs, so I could throw them up on the big screen there and keep an eye on them. But and it even comes with audio if I really care to hear what they're talking about. But part of the whole purpose of being downstairs is staying away from all the noise and racket and distractions. So that does kind of get into what I wanted to talk about. I want to talk about gadgets and things like that. I got into a real business-oriented talk, and I thought I'd spend some time not talking about business-related things in this video, even though I just spent probably the majority of the video talking about somewhat business-oriented. I guess you can use it for personal too. I mean, if you're doing video chats with friends and things, or hell, even online dating, and you're a guy for one, and you want to try and make your environment look better. There's some tips. There's a lot more you can do, obviously. I'm just touching the surface, no pun intended, but that's just one idea, and you can see that you might not even remember what it looked like before, but all it does is kind of even it out. Anyways, I'm talking about that again. what I have on the list, I wanted to talk about a couple things. Let's see. One, like right now, I'm working on a project for a client that is a promotional video. And for any of you out there who are watching these videos and have to do anything like that, but are also a musician like me, or if you have any musical talent or knowledge in music theory, things like that, I want to suggest, and I normally wouldn't do this, but I've gotten really familiar with and attached to GarageBand. Not on the Mac. To me, I'd rather use a full-blown piece of software that's more evolved and actual audio. If I'm going to open up a computer, but on the iPad or iPod, we'll take camera number 2 here. We can easily write a track. Like I'm working on a track right now for a video, and it's just a basic track. Now I've recorded it really slow, and I'm going to speed it up for the final one. But and I might turn down the drums. You may not hear this very well, which is just cool because I'm not comfortable with what I've done yet. There's some guitar in there. But I just needed a backing track really quick that's going to be not distracting. It's going to run while actually I'm talking. I'm the voiceover, as well as my mother who does voice work. We're both on this video. So this is one concept I have for just a simple track. And I wrote this in like 2 minutes. So that shows you the power of some of these apps out there. Anybody familiar with like MIDI recording-esque or loop recording, things like Fruity Loops and Acid and things like that, the software, not the drug. You'll be pretty familiar with some of these interfaces that come up here. I mean, this should look pretty familiar, being able to go through and adjust and or here, so you can drag things out like that. So you also have the ability to quickly mute and pull tracks up. You can mute this so it's just the bass, or I can just turn on my guitar, which you didn't even hear before, which is just a simple guitar line to kind of kill some of the monotony, but I don't think I want. I think it's a distraction. It's not worth it, so I cut it out. I did have some bass hits in here, but we're not trying to make a rap video. So anyway, that's a neat tool, GarageBand. I think I paid $10 for it on the App Store. I could be wrong, maybe 20. But for someone who's musically inclined, or at least thinks they could learn an interface like this and needs to come up with a backing track for something, that's a very good tool. Something else I wanted to talk about really quick. Let me camera 2 all back in order here. Got it falling over. And there it goes. There we go. this may seem funny, but if I haven't made it obvious yet, I'm very into clearance. Not cheap, and I'm actually not very good with money. As you can see with the amount of gadgets I have, I spend a lot of my earnings on gadgets, which, you know, it's my hobby. So, but I do like to get the best deal I can get if I can. I am a dork. I scour the clearance bins at Walmart, or clearance aisles at Walmart at 3 in the morning, and but that's where I find surveillance equipment and shit like that for $100. So one thing I realized is I've got all these devices. It's like my phone and tablets, and I've got these Logitech Bluetooth wireless, obviously if it's Bluetooth, headphones / headset, so I can make a phone call. I look like a ridiculous idiot or pretend DJ when using it, but I'll tell you what, it comes in handy if you don't care what you look like sometimes. So I've got that, which takes the kind of micro USB plug. Not really in focus there, but so that needs to be charged often. Phone needs charged, which at the moment I have a Droid, which is a hand-me-down, Droid X hand-me-down from my wife. Finally, I think in October my plan is up and I'm going to buy my own phone, and put a little effort into that. Usually I just take her hand-me-downs because I really don't care, but now that I'm more into app building and things like that, and as well as using Google services to organize my business, the phone does matter to me. The only thing I will note is I hate on-screen keyboards with a passion, and I don't like the suggestion-based typing, so I tend to avoid that. But anyway, so this has to be charged too. So we lost our other camera due to space. Like I said, it was a really resource-heavy camera. But we were talking about my phone. I do hate the on-screen keyboard. I do love the space that it provides. My last phone had a slide-out keyboard, and I think I'm going to stick with that. On the next one, I think I'll get the Droid. I think it's 4 at this point, right? But either way, so now we've got, we've got 2 items that need to be charged often. I mean, I use these things together very, very often, along with some other things that need charged, depending on what I got going on. Either my, iPad or my iPod, which is hanging up there on one of my whiteboards. All these things may need to be charged at once, and so I did find a solution, and it's a weird solution, because I was looking at all these fancy, plug it in the wall USB chargers that have 2 ports. Usually I can only find 2 ports, and I couldn't find any that were any more than 2 ports, and some of these things were like $40. It's a ridiculous amount of money for a stupid USB charger, and it's not even with the cable, it's just the wall mount. So what I did, I remembered, I think it was Walmart, it might have been Meijer, which some of you may not have the ability to go to, but I remembered in the auto section they had a really cheap USB charger. Looked kind of dorky, but if you look down here, I have this charger here that takes 4 ports, or has 4 ports, and will charge. Now the only downside is that it's and it's an accessory item for a car, so it has to use this. And so I just picked up a charger down here, which, ignore my cables, one day this house will burn down, with this little converter here, which I don't think I paid more than like 10 or 15 bucks for, which comes in handy for many other items, so I don't consider this necessarily a joint purchase. Either way, all in all, for about 30 bucks, I'd say tops, I got this 4-part charger. I think this thing was only like $7 or $8. And then you add in whatever I paid for that converter, which could have been $10, maybe $14, who knows. That thing lasts a long time, or not lasts a long time, but I have used it all the time. I also found these little guys while we're on the subject of things and deals. I found these little battery pack these chargers, which you just charge and leave charged. And what they'll do is they'll charge your device. You plug them into your device as you would a charger, and they will charge it up to halfway, and that's pretty cool. Normally these things go for anywhere from, I think, 30 somewhere to like $90. These things are expensive as all get out. I got them for $3 a piece on clearance at one of those big stores, Meijer or Walmart. So I just wanted to kind of nerd it up with these devices. I recommend these. These are expensive as all hell, so don't get them if you don't have the money. I don't recommend them for that. But if you're going to do a lot of calls on the cell phone, and you need to be mobile, even if it's just walking around your office or having hands-free device, these things are awesome. These things are great. Plus, you could take a walk and have a nice headset to listen to your music on with your phone or iPod or whatever, Bluetooth, with a Bluetooth connection, so your phone can be in your pocket, no wires. You just, you still may, depending on how you feel about the way they look, you might look stupid or whatever, but they cover your ears quite well. I hate the earbuds. A lot of people swear by them, but I don't like them. Maybe my ears are misshaped or something, but they always fall out. And I don't feel like I like the idea of shutting out the outside world when I'm listening to music and or having a conversation on the phone. So I wanted to talk about that, some stupid gadgets. I did want to talk about organization as far as business related stuff, but we'll skip that and move that into the next vlog, because that warrants a whole vlog. I kind of want, and maybe even a lesson, because I kind of want to talk about Google's tools for organization. I don't want to act like I'm not a spokesperson for Google. They're not giving me any kickbacks outside of their Google ads, which I'll take kickbacks from Google if they're listening. But I do really enjoy their tools. They're dirt cheap. $5 a month for a business account per user. That's pretty good. I can make that. Out of all the business expenses I have, that's probably the smallest. So we'll talk about that next time, and I'll find some other interesting things to talk about. Hopefully this was interesting enough. So we'll see you then. Bye.